On this episode, we finish off our 7 Deadly Sins series with gluttony.
So if you're interested in eating the most you can in the Venice of the East, but spending the least, you'll love this episode of the Bangkok Podcast.
Sawadee krap, this is the Bangkok Podcast. My name is Greg Jorgensen, a Canadian who came to Thailand in 2001 to practice running after an ice cream vendor on a bicycle while wearing flip-flops. And I'm happy to say that after 20 years, I think I've mastered it.
Alrighty, man. As long as you can recognize the song.
That's right.
The song's the key.
These are the real life skills that I want to work on.
Very cool. And I met Knuth, an American who came to Thailand on a 1-year teaching contract 21 years ago. Fell in love with winter, that's in quotes, being 70 degrees Fahrenheit. That's 21 degrees Celsius for all you un-Americans out there. So I never left.
Un-Americans instead of non-Americans. I like it. Also called science purists.
That's right. No, it's funny. I can't. We've talked about it before, but I can't shake the Fahrenheit thing. I can't. It's just the way. It's just the way I think.
Well, it's the way you're raised.
We want to say a quick thank you to one of our patrons, Jet Malone, who supports us at the show shout-out level. Stick around after we finish up our 7 Deadly Sins series with gluttony to hear why Jet and Greg's son almost had a lot more in common than he knows. We want to give a big thanks to all of our patrons who support the show. Patrons get a whole bunch of cool stuff, including our ad-free regular show a day early, behind-the-scenes photos and videos of our interviews, discounts on swag, access to our Discord server to chat with me, Greg, and other listeners, and various other things that aren't available to regular listeners. But best of all, patrons like Jet also get an unscripted, uncensored bonus episode every week where we riff on current events and Bangkok topics. We just finished recording this week's bonus show, which we called the Vindication Show, because the opinions of both Greg and I were proven right by recent events, as well as discussions about Christmas plans and Greg's train trip up to Chiang Mai, which will be one of the last ones out of the famous Hua Lamphong train station. To become a patron, head to bangkokpodcast.com/support.
Gonna miss that. Lots of memories of back in the old days, running to the store. You got 10 minutes before the train leaves. Going to get like a waffle from the waffle woman at the front of the train station and a couple beers and sprinting back to the train to jump on. Good times.
That's great.
Yeah. All right. Well, in this episode, we are going to be finishing up our 7 Deadly Sins of Bangkok series, which, believe it or not, Ed, we started this 17 months ago.
Wow, it took us that long. That's good. I like series like this. This was a good idea.
Yeah, I like series and themed shows like this. They're fun. So we've moved through pride, lust, wrath, greed, sloth, and envy, and are finishing things off with gluttony.
Yeah.
Now, there's not a lot of creative ways to spin this one, so we thought we'd just discuss food, glorious food, and specifically some of the best places to not only get food, but to get a lot of food. Now, this is all about quantity over quality. So, Ed, if one is a glutton, do you think that they're in a good place to nail it in Bangkok?
Great question. The first thing we have to make clear is Bangkok is one of the greatest food cities in the world. I'm just sure of this. This is a great place to eat, but it is a slightly different question. If you're asking, what if you want to eat a lot for cheap? That's a little bit different because normally I think of Bangkok as a great place for food, mainly because of the variety. Obviously,
every street corner you can get vegetarian food, halal food, spicy food, noodles,
that's
southern,
right. Indian food,
Indian
food, Chinese food, and then of course you get into the international buffet of options we have. But this is a little bit different. This is if you want to pig out, right? If you want, you want to be a glutton.
Like everyone eats, but there are few true gluttons out there.
Well, okay. I'm going to start out with one that will just show how westernized I am, but I'm going to defend this one. And this is important clarification. I think delivered pizza in Bangkok is a great way to eat a lot, if you can catch one of the best specials. So in general, pizza here is good, but not particularly cheap. Would you agree? Would you agree with that?
Yeah, I would. And I mean, I think we've all been there where you're like, oh, I'll have a large this and then a large that. And then, oh, yeah, some soda, maybe some chicken wings. And then at the end, you're like, 1,200 baht.
Yeah,
what the hell?
That's that's $35. That's $40.
Yeah,
US,
exactly.
US.
Yeah.
So in general, I don't think pizza's that cheap here, but there are some crazy specials, especially from Pizza Company. You and I are both fans of Pizza Company, even though just to make clear, I do like pizza from other places. But Pizza Company sometimes they just have straight 2-for-1, and they'll run it for a couple months. 2-for-1.
Yeah.
And the other thing they do sometimes is they have this like automatic upgrade to the largest size, which is this 18-inch like behemoth. So
right.
I don't know which one works out to be more pizza, but sometimes I just order a large pizza for 420 baht, and you get 2 larges for 420. Now you're talking gluttony. Now we've crossed the line.
Well, this happened in a recent show, right? Where I ordered a 2-for-1, and I can't remember. I either didn't know that I was ordering 2-for-1, or I didn't know that I was ordering the 18-inch behemoth pizza. So I got 2 18-inch behemoth
Oh my God,
pizzas.
that is so much pizza, man. That is so much pizza.
And I think it was like 700 baht or 800 baht or something like that. And it was like, I mean, this thing's the size of a semi steering wheel.
That's right. That's right.
And I had 2 of them.
Sometimes when I go to order pizza, I'm hoping that the 2-for-1 deal is not on, because I just know I'm going to gain a couple of pounds. I'm just like, please, I just want to pay like 330 baht for one medium. I don't want 2 mediums. That's another 1,500. That's another 1,500 calories.
I know, and I like, even if I do get it and put it in the fridge, like I'll eat that later. I know that like as I'm sitting on my computer 11 o'clock at night, I'm going to hear
That's
like,
right.
Greg, come here. I'm like, oh, something's making noise in the fridge, and I'm going to open it, and there's going to be the pizza.
Okay, so I've thoroughly labeled myself a Westerner, but I'm just going to go with special deals on pizza. That's the number one way when I want to pig out. That's probably my number one go-to.
It's the easiest, most convenient way to be a glutton. Yeah, and you just get overwhelmed with pizza if that's possible.
Especially if you like pizza. But what I think this is like I said, I think this is a little bit of a harder question than it seems, because I think it's the options we have here that is the key, and also I feel like in general Thai portions are not that big. So like when I think of Thai food and just food in Thailand, I don't think of giant portions. Like when I go back home, like I'm going back home in 2 weeks. When I go back home, I'm always shocked at how much food I get. In the States. I order a lunch, and it's a lunch. It's huge.
Yeah, I mean, I've been home in so long that I don't really remember the portion sizes, but it's famous, like, oh, the portion sizes is so big.
But Thai food is not known for portions; it's known for like flavor.
But like you said before, the variety is the thing here. So even if the portions of an individual Thai dish aren't great, the reason that street food is so awesome is because especially if you go to one of those little places where there's a lot of different street stalls, like those little like mubans,
right? You could grab,
sidewalk.
Right? Yeah.
So you can go get like a bowl of bami mu dang, and then over there you can go and get some chicken satay with that peanut sauce, and then you go to another cart and you get one of those like cubes of steamed bread with hot custard.
Okay, this is interesting. Okay, this is a very interesting answer, because if you would have asked me before the show, is Thai street food a good way to pig out, I would have said no, like, because I think of, I realize it's cheap. It's cheap, right. So it's like 30 baht or 40 baht, and you get a bowl of noodles that's delicious. But so I don't associate that with eating a lot. But you're right. So I guess if you're willing, and it'll be cheap, So it does count as gluttony, because if you spend 300 baht on Thai street food, you're going to get a lot of food.
Yeah, and I think like what you said with the pizza, like pizza's not a good deal. Unless I think a lot of the things we're going to talk about tonight have a caveat to them. Like this is either a good deal or not a good deal, unless. So street food, generally, the portions aren't huge unless you happen to be at a place with a lot of different variety of stalls, and you can just
Right.
make a round and come back to the table, and over the next 30 minutes you're going to have a ridiculous amount of food in front of you.
So if you don't mind looking like a pig with like 6 or 7 normal dishes, you could. Yeah, you're right. Okay, so I guess I'll change my view. I think Thai street food, it could be a pig out option. It could be.
Just sitting there, the little plastic stool, just sweating under your weight. Like,
You could do.
everyone
You
taking
could do
bets
it.
on whether it's going to collapse or not.
You could do it. I mean, again, like I think when I want to eat a lot and save money, that means I don't want to spend more than 500 baht. To me, if you're spending more than 500 baht, that's a lot in Bangkok.
Yeah.
So you're right. For under 500 baht, you could certainly eat a lot of street food.
But you are right, though. If you go to a restaurant like a Mudang restaurant or something,
Right.
that's what they have. They have Mudang.
Right.
And unless you get like
You're not going to eat. You're
2
not going to
plates.
get. Yeah. Interesting. All right. What else you got?
Well, I mean, let's talk about buffets a little bit. Now, there's also some caveats with buffets.
Okay. Well, I think Bangkok is. I feel Bangkok is pretty famous for its hotel buffets. Especially, it seems like breakfast or brunch, like brunch buffets at 4 or 5 stars hotel. I feel like there's a culture here of that and like a competition almost.
That's right. Yeah, you're right. And they're so good. And the last time I really got my money's worth at a buffet, we went with our buddy Scott Coates, who's going to be co-hosting an upcoming episode. And we went to an all-you-can-eat and drink free-flow booze.
Damn.
Brunch buffet.
Damn.
And I have never been in pain after a meal like I was. Like I was really painfully uncomfortable for about an hour after.
Oh, that's funny. Well, Scott is actually quite an expert on these buffets because I've been to some of these brunches with him before too. And Scott is good at also catching deals. So that's important to mention. A lot of the buffets regularly are pretty expensive. So to me, that's even though they're typically all you can eat. And that's not a bad deal. To pay 1,200 baht for all you can eat when the food is really good, that's not a bad deal. But that doesn't qualify as, to me, gluttony. Like, this has got to be something like on the cheap. I'm just trying to stuff food in my mouth. Like, it doesn't have to be taste that good, But the twist is those hotels run deals, man. Like if you join the club, if you pay the yearly fee, they give out coupons. That's a whole nother game. It's like the game of airline miles and the game of you know what I mean. It's like there's because back in the day when I worked for a Thai company, they were somehow members at the Marriott. So they used to give us these coupons all the time, and they're really good. It's not like 5% off. It's like 50% off at for the weekend buffet. So normally it's 1,200. Now it's 600, and it's insane. It's crab, it's lobster, it's beef. Some of these. I
gotta say, man, the hotel buffets I'm thinking of are like 3,500 baht if you're throwing in free flow booze.
Oh yeah, with booze it'll be definitely more than that. But my memory was from 15 years ago. Is what I was talking about. But yeah, so the caveat with hotel buffets is the price, but there are deals. So you just got to finagle it.
Right. And there's also some strategy. Like if you pay 2,000 baht to go to a hotel buffet and then have like barbecued chicken Thai style, like you're an idiot because you can get that out on the street for 25 baht. If you go to if you go to the Millennium Hilton on the Thonburi side of the river, our cool side of the river, they have a whole room, a chilled room of cheese, just cheese in this room.
Oh, nice.
So, I mean, I'm not paying 2,000 baht to have khao man gai. I'm going in there and I'm eating a kilogram of cheese,
That's great. No, they so I haven't done this in a while since the way I'm eating these days. But yeah, back in the day, this was actually a part of my early Thai experience was the Marriott, because that's where they, my company had some kind of deal. So they would give us 50% off coupons for the breakfast buffet, and it's insane. It's insane.
There's also something to be said, too. If I did a buffet now, I'm getting too old. I'm getting too fat. I'm getting too aware of my own mortality to eat 12,000 calories at a meal.
Right.
I can eat like maybe a plate and a half of food and I'm dead. I'm done. Right. And that's not worth 2,000 baht.
But you have, right. Okay, so no doubt.
So I can't do it. I think the hotel buffet to get its money's worth, you got to be a young person.
Yeah, probably true.
One last story about hotel buffets. When my sister was here a few years ago, we went to a really nice buffet, and she's from a very small town, and they just don't have this for her. So it was a pretty big deal. And the one thing they had there was foie gras.
Oh,
And
wow.
I mean, she loves foie gras, and she ate so
And let me guess,
much.
she's not eating foie gras on a weekly basis in her regular life.
Yeah, exactly. It's not really big on the menus of small town Canadian food. So she ate herself into a foie gras coma at the end. But the flip side of the coin of these expensive hotel buffets is these like cheap Thai restaurant buffets that are like 299 baht, all you can eat. And I gotta say, man, I'm a little bit wary of them.
I know exactly what you're talking about. I mean, roadside buffet, that's the perfect way to put it. And it's just, and they have the numbers in these big numbers on the side of the road, 299. And I don't think
logo is like a pig or
I don't think I've
something.
ever. It's funny. I know exactly what you're talking about. I don't think I've ever done it.
No, I haven't either. And it's because if I'm gonna go and eat 5 kilograms of food, I'm not going to feel comfortable paying $6 for that. Like
That's right.
I'm okay paying a bit more to eat a gigantic amount of food.
That's a good point.
suspiciously
I would like to know. There's got to be someone out there. Apparently there must be more adventurous expats than we are. I wonder if those are good deals. I do remember once going to so back in the day when I was a meat eater, my wife and I would go to Korean barbecue, and Korean barbecue can be expensive in Bangkok, but then there are some that are kind of roadside, and it'll say Korean barbecue, and it'll be cheap. Man, they were not good. Like the quality of the meat was and again, I'm not, as a meat eater, I love to eat meat, but I wasn't some aficionado, and the meat was bad. It's like rubbery, and you're just like, okay, I get why it's $2.99.
You get what you pay for. Yeah. And I'm not saying that all these places are like that. I'm sure some are great, some are less quality than others. But for me personally, I'm okay with paying a bit more to make sure that I'm getting.
But at least we're putting the word out. Those places do exist.
And they're always busy.
Yeah. Try at your own risk.
Yeah.
All right. Well, since my last suggestion was so farang, I'm going to go Thai now. I'm going to go super Thai, dude.
All right.
I'm going to recommend, with an asterisk, a local proper Thai market, not a supermarket, but a fresh market. Now the asterisk is, of course, if you're going to go eat at a fresh market, you're probably not going to pig out immediately. You're going to have to cook. So this is a gluttonous situation where you're quite diligent. So this is diligent gluttony, where you want to cook some amazing meal and not pay a lot of money. You got to go to a Thai fresh market. Dude, I know you have, and I'm lazy, which means I often don't go. But every time I get up a little bit early and go to a proper Thai fresh market, they're shockingly cheap, dude.
Yeah.
You can get like a thick bundle of kale for like 30 baht, $1. And it's this thick, giant bundle. It's for restaurants. Like that's why it's like a bulk, like those fresh markets, they feed half the restaurants, and they feed all the street restaurants, and then even bigger restaurants. So everything is bulk priced, and it's crazy.
When I used to live in Talat Noi, down sort of close to Chinatown, there used to be a little wet market hidden. You had to go through a little soy between some houses, and then there was like this little courtyard thing, and there was a wet market there. And it was, there's like a guy with a stainless steel table that's got big hunks of raw meat sitting on it out in the open in the sun. And he's like, his kid is sitting on a chair playing a Game Boy, and he's sleeping in a chair or something. Like it's not about customer service or presentation, but yeah, it's cheap, man. And I used to go, and you're like, hack me off a kilogram of pork or something, and you'll just pull out a cleaver.
Like 10
and
baht, it's like 10 baht.
Yeah, and you do your vegetable shopping and get all your stuff. But yeah, you do have to cook it when you get home. But it's a very cheap way to get a ton of food, but you gotta prepare it.
So we'll just call that diligent gluttony. So a rare subset of gluttons, those who want to cook. All right, what do you got, man?
Well, I guess this will probably end up being, again, the other side of the coin from a Thai wet market is macro.
Oh, okay. Okay. You're right. Macro would be the big box version of the fresh market.
Yeah, I guess the Western equivalent would be like Costco.
Yeah, that's right. Yes, Costco or Sam's Club. That's right. So yeah, it's like the middle class or upper middle class version of the fresh market, right?
Right. So every time we go there, my wife she'll walk out with like a garbage bag full of pork for I don't know how much it is, but it's
right for
it's
10 baht.
Good
right?
enough that my wife is excited, which means it's cheap.
Yeah. So macro is just your basic bulk purchase place, and I'm a big fan of macro. I live very close to one, so I go a lot more than I used to. It's a little bit weird because, again, it's like, let's say you want to go there and you want to buy some almonds or whatever it is. It's a little bit strange because it really is geared towards supplying other shops. So they won't have like a bin of almonds like they would have at like Whole Foods. Instead, you'll have to buy like a small crate of like 20 packs of almonds.
Right,
you know what I mean? It's more like that's the problem with macro is it's really aimed, I think it's really almost B2B. A lot of stuff is B2B, and so if you're like the one guy, like I really just want a kilo of almonds. Well, dude, you're gonna have to buy this box of 50 packs.
It's based on cartel economics. Like you gotta buy 5 keys of heroin, and then you gotta chop it up and sell it at the playgrounds. But you're not gonna go and buy like individual serving sizes.
So that's the problem with macro. But if you're anywhere near one, they are absolutely worth checking out. It's just. Again, I think this is just an international phenomenon now. Just the bulk retailer, the bulk giant, big box, I don't know what they call them, big box bulk retailers. And Thailand's got them, so macro.
Yeah, they're good. I mean, there's been so many comedians over the years that have made jokes about that. You're like, oh, I bought what's the deal with the 10-liter jars of mayonnaise?
Yeah,
things like that.
Yeah, sure. Well, it's here. We got it. So if you want a lot of food for a little money, macro.
Well, as we're getting near to the end here, I want to talk about 2 foods that are actually, I've always been a little bit angry at these dishes. I've held a little bit of resentment against them.
Oh, really?
Yeah, because they're great and I love them, but I think they're the Thai food equivalent of a bag of Lay's potato chips. Now, as we all know, when you buy a bag of potato chips, half the bag is air.
Oh, I see.
What the hell am I paying for here? Like, I love potato chips, but I want to,
Right. The bag looks fairly big, and then you open it up, and it's half full.
Right, exactly. So this is tom kha gai or tom kha anything, and tom yum goong. The Thai soups, which are iconic Thai dishes. But I'm angry because I love them. I'll stick a straw in them and suck them down like a milkshake. But it's always pissed me off because half of the bowl is taken up with all this crap and cuttings and shavings and stuff at the bottom that you can't eat.
Right. I mean, it's stuff you're not supposed to eat. This is such a good point because I know exactly what you mean. I'm a huge fan of tom kha and tom yum. I love them. The flavor is incredible. But it's not good for gluttony because there's a lot of stuff like galangal in there. And you're right.
Yeah.
There's a lot of stuff in there for flavor that you can't eat. Like you put in your mouth, and you're right. This is perfect. This brings me back. This is creating a nostalgic reverie because I remember my first month or two here, and I'm sure I probably had tom kha in the States at some point, but I didn't really know anything. And I just fell in love with curry and tom kha and tom yum. I just fell in love with it, and I just remember it's never enough. Like you have like the coconut milk soup and the soup and you're if there's shrimp there, you eat the shrimp or whatever it is, and then you can't bite into into the galangal or whatever it is. It is frustrating
because the soup and stuff that I was brought up, and like your mom puts a bowl of soup in front of you when you're a kid, and you stir it up, and it's like that scene in Indiana Jones where all the eyeballs come to, except it's like really good noodles and meat and all the stuff at the bottom that you're like, oh yeah, I'm going to work my way down to that and I'm going to eat it. And then I remember the first time I had tom kha gai, I was up in Chiang Mai and I dug my spoon in and I was like, oh, all this stuff at the bottom looks great. Like that's the bonus at the end of your meal. And I remember I bit into a thing of lemongrass. I had no idea what any of it was. And I'm like, this is awful. What the hell? Right.
No, lemongrass is perfect. Yeah. Those are the 2 culprits, actually. Lemongrass and galangal. Those are the 2 main culprits. But there's a couple other spices that you just can't bite into. This is such a good point. But actually, I think this this might support my larger point because I think that kind of proper Thai food, like, of course, you can sometimes get tom kha or tom yum on the street, but it's not common street food. It's a little bit nicer. It's a little bit more complex. And so that's the kind of thing you would get at a more proper Thai restaurant. And in general, I don't think that's the best way if you want to eat a lot. I think if you want to eat a lot, it's not like getting Chinese is in the States. Like when you get Chinese in the States, it's a lot of food. But Thai food is not like that. It's just like it tastes great, but in the case of the soup, it's like half of it you can't eat, or it's like it's like the portion size isn't there. So I remember learning this when I got here because I did have Thai food in the States before I came here, but I didn't really know anything about it. I just ate it now and then, and so when I got here, I was learning like, wow, the portions just aren't that big, unless you're like Greg and you're willing to get 8 of them.
Yeah, I'll just walk around, one of those, please, and sit down and have them all brought to me like some kind of ancient king who takes one bite of a turkey leg and throws it over his shoulder.
You could do that. That you could do, and it would cost you about 300 baht to do that.
I think tom kha is ready for its next leap forward. I think why not open a little street stall that strains it for you and just puts it into a cup with a straw?
Ooh, that would be
you
great.
Can drink it like a milkshake.
The flavor, man, the flavor is so good. Thai soup and Thai curry. Man, I just fell in love with that when I got here, and I'm still in love with it.
Yeah, it's good stuff. There's probably Thai purists listening to this though, with their head in their hands, just like, oh my God, what are these simpletons talking about? Well,
that's the theme of our whole show: simpletons talk.
try to figure out Bangkok. Oh well, that's our discussion on gluttony. So I mean, Bangkok's a great city for eating. But there are many caveats and things you got to take into account. So, it's fun to explore, but that's what makes it great living here, right? I mean, you can always form a new opinion or try something new and hopefully come out of it stuffed to the gills.
For sure.
Yeah. All right, let's get into some love, loathe, or live with, where one of us picks a particular aspect of life in Bangkok, which we then discuss and decide if it's something we love about living here, loathe about living here, or have come to accept as something that we just have to learn to live with no matter how we feel about it. And last time, Ed asked me about confirmation calls from delivery drivers. So this week, it's my turn. And sticking with our food topic, Ed, you're a salad guy. You like salad.
I do.
What do you think of when you order an entree? Oftentimes, it's like a meat entree, like at a steak restaurant or something.
Okay, I've got a memory. I can remember those days. Yeah.
So they bring you your entree, and on the side is a salad, but it's a very specific type of salad. It's usually a fist-sized clump of shredded cabbage.
Oh yeah,
with mayonnaise squirted over out of a bottle on top of it, with a couple of little tomatoes on the side. What do you think of that? Do you eat it?
I mean, I try to avoid it. I know what you're talking about. It's super lame. I don't even know what to call it. It's almost like unfermented sauerkraut or something. I don't know what it is. You're right. It's like shaved cabbage and like it's just lame.
It's the side dish version of the American breakfast. It's just like the easiest, quickest way to get as much to fill up the plate as possible.
Yeah. I gotta go. And it's tough to say loathe, but it's just one of those. It just reeks of like half effort. It's just so easy for them. So yeah,
exactly.
It looks like they're just trying to make the plate look a little bit better.
Right. Like, why don't you just use plastic lettuce leaves and then you can just at least wash them and put them on the next plate?
That's right. Yeah. I definitely, this is definitely a thumbs down. I'm not, it never really bugged me. So if we stick to my emotional honesty theme, I'm probably going to have to go live with, but yeah, I get it.
Yeah, I'll go live with too. It's fine. All right, cool. You can eat it if you want to, but it's just, it's pointless. Why?
Agreed.
Yeah.
Okay, so as we mentioned at the beginning of the show, we'd like to say thank you to Jet Malone for lending us his support at the show's shoutout level. And Greg, what did you find out about Jet?
Well, as it turns out, Jet is a big fan of yours, Ed.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I sent some messages back and forth with our buddy Jet, and he said, and I quote, "I joined the Patreon to hear more of the dulcet tones of Ed Knuth."
Okay, that's more than a little bit scary.
Come on, I love hearing you talk every week. Makes me happy. So Jet says, I've been to 30 plus countries. I love big cities, and Bangkok is a happy place for me, not just because it's the best shopping in the world. Boom. See, shopping malls do have their purpose. even without kids. He said, in March, I'm transitioning to a digital nomad. I have no idea where my wife and I will settle, so I'm guessing 2 years of moving often. So that's pretty
Wow,
cool.
he sounds like he's got the life, man.
Yeah, or he will, no doubt. Do you think you could be a digital nomad like Jet's going to be?
Man, the idea, this is the thing about the whole digital nomad culture. The idea is incredible. How many people are actually a success at it? I don't know. So
I think
anyone making real money as a real digital nomad, you win. There's nothing controversial about that.
You win life.
Yeah,
Here's your trophy.
So I agree. So the concept of digital nomadry, I think, is fantastic. But how many people are actually doing it successfully? I'm not sure.
I think there's going to be a lot more people trying it, especially after the past shit show of the past couple of years we've been through.
Well, more power to them.
Yeah, I hope it works out, Jet. That's really cool. And check this out. Jet has a lot in common, almost had a lot in common with my son.
Really?
Because when my wife was pregnant, we were settling on names, which I got to tell you, man, is a whole like an extra layer of surreal that people don't really think about. But coming up for a name for your child is weird.
Cross-culturally, too. Cross-culturally.
Right. You got to make sure that you're like, don't pick a name that's innocent in your language, but it means like, foreskin in another language or something. So
yeah, that's a good point. That's a good point.
Because kids could be psycho with rhyming and stuff. So we were trying to think of a name, and my friend of mine suggested Jet.
Dude, that's a great name. It's funny. I have a good friend here, and his good friend, his name is Jet, and so I've met him a couple times, hung out with him, and I'm just like, that's a cool name.
But the thing that killed it was the last name, Jet Jorgensen.
Jet Jorgensen. That sounds like a fake name of an action movie star. Like a made up name, like exactly. Jet Jorgensen fights the Nazis.
Exactly, like a Ben Stiller action movie.
Right, that's right.
Or something. So I mean, Jet's a cool name, and even Jet Jorgensen, like it sounds like a toy from the 70s.
That's right. That's exactly
Jet Jorgensen, stuntman.
That's right. That's exactly right. Yeah.
But ultimately, we decided against it.
Jet Malone works.
Jet Malone's a cool name.
Yeah, that works for sure.
But Jet Jorgensen,
is, a little bit too parody.
And I'll tell you, there's even a deeper layer to this because, long story short, that no one wants to hear. When I was a kid growing up, my last name was McGregor. So I was Greg McGregor.
Oh, I see.
And all the kids in my elementary school called me Gregory McGregory.
Oh, that's funny. So you're sensitive to these naming issues.
Exactly, and Gregory McGregory led to Grego Waffle, and then people were calling me Pancake. Like it was a whole thing, right? So,
wow. Okay, yeah, we gotta be very careful with naming.
Yeah. So Jet Malone is a cool name, and Jet, more power to you with the digital nomads and your cool names. It sounds like you got everything going for you. So the best of luck, my friend, and thank you for your support.
Yeah, thanks for your support. All right, a final thanks to our patrons who support the show. Patrons get a ton of cool perks and the warm, fuzzy feeling knowing that they're helping support the show. Find out more by clicking support on our website and connect with us online. We're Bangkok Podcast on social media, bangkokpodcast.com on the web, or simply bangkokpodcast@gmail.com. We love hearing from our listeners and always reply to our messages.
Right on. You can also listen to each episode on YouTube. You can send us a voicemail online that we'll feature on the show, or you can even reach out to me directly on Twitter, where I am BKK Greg. So thanks for listening, everyone. Take care of yourself. Stay warm if you're living in a cold place. And we'll see you back here next week.
Yep. See you next week. So if you're interested in eating the most you can in the Venice of the East, but spending the least, you'll love this episode of the Bangkok Podcast.
I like that. Eat the most, spend the least in the Venice of the East.
That's great. That's great.